Radiant team ban.
Hey guys, welcome back to round 2 action of this Thursday evening's Semi-Pro Cup series. As of course always, I will be joined with the one and only at Nizcast to give you guys some insight into the game to make me not sound stupid. And of course, we followed one world from the previous round into this next round. They were able to best their previous opponent. However, their next opponent is not the same caliber. We'll be seeing a team that has a decent, resume as far as it comes to the SCSs. They are a regular in the top 8, I'd say. Sometimes they will get knocked out in the top 32, top 16, but usually only to teams that consistently get to that top 8. So they're definitely an experienced team in the amateur scene, so we'll see what they bring out. Most notably, they're usually run by Impulse, who I'm not sure if that's Kiwi, but we will see.
Dire team ban.
We will see.
Yeah, I normally recognize a lot more names on their roster, so maybe everyone's just kind of on alts or
Yeah, Little
something.
Mag is
We'll
100% been on the roster since for the last month since we've been casting. I haven't really seen them change up Little Mag, but outside of that, I think GKTA has also been on their roster for the last month. But yeah, the other three, I'm not so sure about. I'm not even so sure their captain is still Impulse, so we'll see. Or maybe he is, maybe he's not. We won't know. Terrorblade getting banned out. Lycan getting banned out. Terrorblade. So last draft when I was talking about that they were more banning towards the 6.8, like the end of the 6.81 meta. What I was also kind of getting at is I feel like there wasn't a focus towards kind of the newer heroes that we're seeing come out into popular light, and Terrorblade is definitely one of them. We see him banned out here, but Disruptor seems to be getting a little bit more popular, specifically in the amateur scene. But I like that a lot, and I feel like Disruptor is one of those amazing heroes that when you're the more experienced team, even when you're the same experience, he's a great hero, so don't take this as he's not good when you're equal experience or less experienced than the other team. But when you're more experienced than the other team, one of the big things that glares between you two is positioning and strategical decisions. Disruptor makes your mistakes in those two fields glare even worse than they did before, because he'll glimpse you across the map because you TP'd late or didn't think about it ahead of time. He'll glimpse you out of when you think you're in a safe position. He'll glimpse you back when you're retreating. All of these things become much bigger obstacles than they normally would, and that's why I personally love the hero and love playing him just by that aspect of the hero. But we're on a great picking combo there.
Disruptor is he really punishes poor positioning, and he disrupts team fights. Hence his name, right? He disrupts team fights by just having so much AoE control and so much zone controlling abilities. And then of course there's Glimpse, which, you know, anyone tries to retreat, right?
Yeah, exactly.
But we did see one world pick up Mirana. Now, I like the fact that they just straight up covered with Abaddon, because Abaddon essentially covers, like, his shield will just negate any kind of arrow or stun shenanigans coming out of Wraith King. So there's basically, it almost eliminates any kind of potential for them to go aggro into it, I feel like. So I guess one world should just go safe lane now and kind of go a little greedy. However, it's kind of hard to go greedy now that you have Wraith King and Mirana.
Yeah, I agree with that. I agree with that. But the Abaddon is such a strong pick in this situation. I really like Abaddon. It's hard to say though, because like when you always pick him in a situation where your logic is they have long duration or they have lots of stuns, we want to be able to debuff some of them. Sometimes Abaddon's not the right hero, but generally speaking, against Wraith King and Mirana, I think Abaddon is an absolutely amazing hero and will definitely benefit them greatly. The Shadow Demon is a very interesting pickup in lieu of the Abaddon. Yeah, Disruption is not affected by it, neither is Soulcatcher to my knowledge, but it's very hard for, you know, the arrow to do anything when right after the arrow hits, they're going to be shielded and healed. So it's interesting, but I mean, if you're already committed into one school of thought, it's sometimes better to go all into it than back out. I guess is another way to look at it. But they did ban out Razor last, and we did see Brewmaster and Faceless Void, like you said, and then now we have
10
the
seconds
Spectre.
remaining.
Spectre is definitely a strong hero, and we've seen
5
good
seconds
teams use
remaining.
Spectre very effectively.
I love Spectre. I love the fact that he can go around and he can participate in the fights during the game, but he's still a late game hero. So, like in that mid game, when you're roaming around, you're getting pickoffs, and you're doing kind of the whole 4 protect 1, he's still there. It's like a 4.5 protect 1, even though that doesn't add up to 5. But that's effectively what it feels like, because Spectre's always there, and he doesn't even have to jump in. He just has to haunt, and then you have to respect the fact that he's used haunt.
Right,
So
but
I like that,
you
but
can't exploit that logic, though. That is one thing. If you're dealing with a Spectre on a team at a at a higher level, you can use the fact that if Spectre uses haunt as like that posturing kind of a positioning that you're talking about, that he could jump in, and if he doesn't jump in and you can immediately re-engage at that point, Spectre loses a lot of strength. But that's something that One World is going to have to look to do, and Tidehunter is a great hero for that. You know, you don't really want to reality into a team that has a Tidehunter with Ravage off of cooldown. However, if Ravage has been used, Spectre is going to definitely feel free to jump right into that fight with Abaddon in the back. But you have to respect the Ravage even with an Abaddon. And ooh, I love this hero too. Definitely my favorite offlane hero, and there is a lot of melees, and Darkseer goes pretty well up against Tidehunter. Though Tidehunter doesn't do too bad out of all of the melees against a Darkseer. However, if Wraith King does end up being a core, not Mirana,
10 seconds remaining.
and they just offlane the Darkseer, and Wraith King's farming that lane, he's going to have a very poor start.
well, the brilliance in this pick is, from what I can read into the draft right now, Disruptor, Abaddon, Spectre is going to be safe lane farming. There's no threat of going aggro, and you don't really want to aggro into that. However, you've put Tide in that off lane. He really can't die against that combo unless he gets really, really out of position. And basically, you either have a core Wraith King or a Mirana, 2 heroes that you could essentially just leave alone up there, and then you could go roaming. So if you want to go roam with the Mirana Shadow Demon, you could do that, put pressure on the middle lane. Or if you want to go roam with the Shadow Demon Wraith King, you can still do that, put pressure on the middle lane. And you feel comfortable leaving those heroes alone. The brilliance in the Darkseer pick is that he does well against both those if you actually choose to leave the Mirana. The Darkseer with Ion Shell is going to put a lot of pressure on Mirana and force her under a tower, which is not something that Mirana likes early on. Mirana actually really struggles with that. And Wraith King, of course, being melee, he's really going to struggle with it, and Darkseer is going to get a lot in that lane.
Right, and to add the final point to your whole argument, which is very well put. Mirana's early base damage is god-awful, and you need to be able to focus down that Ion Shell as her, and you really can't until you get an Aki phase, and that's going to come much later than when the rotations do. But that being said, this draft is going to be shaping up to end, as we do have the Silencers, the last ban for One World, Necrophos
10 seconds remaining.
for the ban from Gucci. And the Necrophos, definitely a lot more respect shown to that hero lately, and me and you would both agree, very deservedly. But in this lineup from One World, I guess they could go towards the sustain route, but I feel like they're kind of at a rock and a hard place. If they go all into the team fight, okay, they're going to go Invoker. But yeah, if they go all into team fight, or did, then they would be kind of caught by the split push potential of Darkseer and Spectre, plus their ability to come to the fight. Darkseer can get an early bots, Spectre obviously with Reality or Haunt, we talked about this. But, and if they go into the pure gank side, Abaddon, Darkseer, Disruptor is an amazingly defensive strong combo that you cannot run into at all. You will die, and it will be horrible, and you will ask yourself why, and you'll remember that Vacuum and Playpen are your undoing. But the Invoker is a nice middle ground. They have good team fight, they have some late game potential now, and they have a hero that can honestly do stuff against this other lineup, but I'm scared for them, to say the least.
Well, here it is. They're obviously going to bring the fight to them, and they're going to put on a lot of pressure. And I think either Invoker or Necro were the only 2 picks that are still left. I feel like those are the 2 strongest picks for them, at least. The Necro, because if you throw out the ult, 30-second longer respawn is huge. absolutely huge. If you ult someone on Necro, it just means you're basically going to get a tower on the back of it because they can't defend. And Invoker's the other pick because obviously Necro is banned, but Invoker's also really strong at just kind of putting a lot of early game aggression or mid game aggression on and just basically grouping up his 5 and pushing. The problem with the ability, as you said, the ability to split push with Spectre and Darkseer is Darkseer can't really go in early bots because if he has an early bots, then he has almost nothing to fight. So I feel like he needs to rush the mech because he's the only one who's going to be able to get it early.
Oh, right. I
And
guess
that's what they need, right?
I guess I should have been more specific. In my head, the in this situation as a Darkseer, my build would be obviously standard boots because it's just nice to have a mechanism into a blink dagger. Maybe finish the arcanes if the team needs it, and then bots or Shivas, and then the other after, if not a sheep instead of the Shivas.
Yeah,
But
Soul Ring boots mech, yeah.
oh yeah, no, yeah, of course Soul Ring. Soul Ring is that item that there's like heroes I always build it on, but you just forget about. But I
Is it
have
Spectre?
one of my, I think so, but I have one of my favorite carries to watch, or heroes, Chaos Knight. I think he's way undervalued in the current meta. I think this hero is insanely strong, and the potential of this hero isn't just in one area, and it's not like he sucks at the multiple areas he's good at. He's an illusion carry, and he can go late and absolutely run town in late game fights with 6 slots. He's a great mid game carry for ganking, killing, pushing, and as well as controlling the tempo of the map. And early game in the laning phase, he has one of the best stuns. So I'm excited to see this. But before we get too far into this, we will go ahead and get our introductions out of the way. Of course, we have Gucci on the Radiant side, defending the Shrine of the Radiant. Or not the Shrine of the Radiant, the Ancient of the Radiant. We have Kiwi, most likely Impulse, as the captain, picking up the Chaos Knight mid lane. We have Little Mag, 126, picking up the Darkseer off lane. Observer Ward in hand, Soul Ring recipe with that. We have GKTA picking up the Abaddon support, Observer Ward in his hand. We have Hawaii and LT semicolon 3. We'll just call him Hawaii with the Sentry Wards in hand as the Disruptor support. And finally that leaves Fail Whale with the sick Disruptor set that everyone has, or Spectre set that everyone has, as he's playing not Disruptor, but Spectre as the final member of their lineup.
All right, on this Dire side, we've got the Twitch chat favorites. We've got One World. Playing on the Shadow Demon is Jesus. Playing the Wraith King is Moons. Playing the Tide Hunter is Asmita. Playing the Mirana is Jenner. And playing the Invoker is @123. And I wanted to point out a little bit about the brilliance I thought of the CK pick, because what I thought is that they'd actually put Spectre middle and still safe lane the CK and get CK a bunch of farm, because I think Spectre would actually do fine against Invoker mid. And CK would stop the Tidehunter from getting the much needed levels that they need on Tidehunter if they want to push and group up early. So I thought that CK pick was very, very brilliant, because it's also going to give them that mid game strength that they want to kind of combat any kind of aggression, 5-man aggression that's going to come out of One World. And it's also going to give Spectre the levels that Spectre needs, because Spectre with levels actually deals quite a bit of damage. But they're actually choosing to put Spectre in the tri-lane, in the bottom, safe lane, and putting CK mid, which
yeah, I was
is
going to ask
interesting.
you how you feel about this, especially knowing it's going up against an Invoker.
I think Invoker just...
The battle begins.
I don't know. I feel like Invoker would just do really, really good here.
I have the
And-
same feeling, but
The thing is it's not that much different than a Spectre, but it kind of is. It feels like it is.
It is. No, it definitely is a big difference the way it plays out. It's Chaos Knight, high base damage, slightly higher mobility. The way that Chaos Rift or Reality Rift works allows him to pull targets in, setting up ganks a lot easier. The rotations into the mid lane will be easier. But I think what you're saying is definitely the right way to characterize this. This lane is one for Invoker if there are 0 rotations, assuming the skill is equal and Impulse doesn't just outplay the Invoker. If the Invoker just outplays Impulse, he'll obviously win the lane. But if there are rotations, CK has a ton of tools to work with his supports, to set up the kill. And I think that's where the value of CK middle is. And, the middle lane, again, we could have this discussion for an hour long on a talk show, but roles in Dota are not that static. They're only as static as your strategy needs them to be. And what I mean by that is, if your strategy relies your mid to be an RaptorZ Shadow Fiend, then you set it up to be an RaptorZ Shadow Fiend, but that doesn't mean that mid is that role. The next game, you could put CK middle and have them as a ganking mid that snowballs in the mid game to pushing, right? And it can work because of the supports and other aspects of it. So I like what they're doing, and it definitely could work. But
here's the question, though. If they actually did what I said, had CK in the bottom lane and Spectre in the middle lane, 9 times out of 10, isn't that better for them overall, especially given that they're actually try here?
I mean, given that they're try, I definitely agree with you. In the other worlds, I would disagree, but given that it's a try, I think that Fail Whale would do as well as CK would in the middle lane, but we'll see. A little bit of action, not too much, but yeah, I think they would do about the same, and CK would definitely do better in this lane. And yeah, there's the arrow too. It's going to be off the mark though. Doesn't really matter again though if it hits. It's 100% worth noting that they have that aphotic shield. And the creep skip begins in the top lane, and this is where Asmita and Darkseer are going to get equal farm. And as Niz has said it many times, it's just going to become a question of how well those two use the farm that both of them are going to get.
Darkseer should actually outfarm him here, because Darkseer is going to be using the creep camps as well. He should be able to farm both.
Question though, at a certain point as a Tidehunter, because you've played a ton of Tidehunter, your anchor smash
played a lot more Darkseer.
That's fair. I played a lot more Darkseer too, because I love Darkseer. But anyways, as a Tidehunter, eventually your anchor smash plus the tower damage gets to a threshold where you will kill the creep wave equal to, if not slightly faster than Darkseer, and because the tower is closer to the creep camp than where Darkseer is technically doing the creep skipping, you can contest it, right? Or do you think that Darkseer just kind of has unabated control over this camp farm? Because I feel like Tidehunter should be able to eventually.
Darkseer can essentially double Ion to do it faster.
Okay, and then he can't run into it because of the double Ion damage. And then the surge off the back of it, and Darkseer chasing him down and killing him. I guess that's the big threat that prevents it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, water. Everyone loves water.
Sorry for the typing. I know my keyboard's loud.
It's always a work call, right? Anyways, this game will be back in... Sorry, gotta respond to that. Dota TV is even worse of a delay. So, sorry guys, but if you were gonna cheat, you should go to Dota TV. You'll get better cheating method. It's just the truth. It's not like it's forcing it or enabling it, but back to the important bulk of the game and what we're supposed to talk about. We do see the CS going to the favor of the Radiant side. Stun in the middle lane. 3 seconds means low damage. So there will be a lot of right clicks available. Invoker will turn. Should be able to get some amount of damage out of this, but only one, sadly only one tick of that cold snap. And yeah, Darkseer almost losing his life. And that's top lane.
You got gushed at a bad time, I guess.
Yeah, that must have been it. Judging by Tidehunter's mana, you don't really get that low of mana by using anything besides Gush, and Anchor Smash is very low mana cost. Is obviously the reason for that. But yeah, he's going to continue to push this lane with Ion Shell and go back to skipping, it looks like.
I feel like the Shadow Demon and Mirana aren't doing anything. I feel like Mirana could be a lot more mobile, and because they're not going to get a kill on this aggro. I really don't know why they went aggro, but I feel like they just need to do more as the two of them rotating it. They even rotated and killed that observer ward, and now they smoked. It feels like that was now a wasted smoke, but they are going to get a disrupt and an arrow, so it's going to work out for them.
Yeah, this is going to be very important. There's the Sunstrike, the DD. Shadow Demon actually is the one who's going to clean up that first blood. I don't think that's too big of a deal at all. We've talked about this in mini casts, which are all available on youtube.com/DotaRaptors. # shameless plug. But Shadow Demon boots is very important. Any support with boots is very important, but Shadow Demon especially, and any support that is a setup because the closer they can get, or the quicker they can get to casting range, the less time the team has to think about it, etc. And it'll just work out better for you 9 times out of 10 than, say, 5 times out of 10 without boots. And he's going to go pick those up right now. And a wand to boot. Look at that rich Shadow Demon. And oh my god. He could buy a smoke too. Look at this. He's
just swimming in gold right now.
This is the Kanye of Shadow Demons over here. He is dripping in swagger juice.
Few supports have been in this position before.
I never have. This is like a myth to me. This is a myth. I've never had this happen to me except in pubs. But then I wasn't playing support, was I?
Yeah, I feel like just Disruptor picking up that rune. I don't feel like that should have happened. I don't know. I feel like the dire side should be able to control bottom rune with how the lane's going. There's no threat that they're going to go on moons in the bottom lane, so I feel like his support should be a lot more controlling of kind of the bottom jungle and bottom rune.
Yeah, that's true. And because they're not doing anything in this aggressive tri lane to control that bottom rune, it did go to Disruptor, but he's not able to get anything out of this rotation. He will have a sentry ward, but he's not going to be able to D-ward much. Maybe he sets up something with a little mag, which could be very, very effective considering Tidehunter is getting good farm, but he buys his boots right there, so, or arc boots, so he's not going to lose 1,000 that gold. It's been spent, so it's not losable.
Tidehunter's so close to dying.
Yeah, that glimpse range. It's long right now, but it's not quite long enough, and meanwhile on the bottom lane, the pressure is getting real. There's multiple heroes who are looking to dive middle, the arrow, or bottom. The arrow does fling and hit the creep wave. So, not going to amount to too much there, as the pressure in top is kind of boiling up right now, as Disruptor really is posturing to go for this.
I'm actually really surprised how well this CK is working
the glimpse
mid.
is back. He is going to go for it, as they are going to chase under this tower. They do have the Ion Shell, and he still has access to the Surge, but that Ravage and the clap, or sorry, the smash, and now Little Mag right clicks towers with, or sorry, are going to be enough to clean him up because of Jenner. And the fight recap shows us a big change, and you know what? One World is looking to be the dark horse of this game news right now. They are playing very well. That was a great timing and great patience from Tidehunter on that Ravage use.
Yeah, I was about to say that this is too close to the tower. This dive is not going to go well for them, and well, we saw what happens when Shadow Demon's able to pick up an early TP, and even the Mirana was able to have a TP early, of course, with the change. TPs now only cost 100 gold rather than 135, and that combined with the fact that Ravage, you know, they went too deep. They just went too deep, and I feel like that was mainly a mistake by Gucci, but One World did exactly what was necessary to capitalize on it. CK in trouble in the bottom.
Disruption. He's going to go for the block with his illusions. He almost got it, but there's the cold snap, and there are 4 things attacking, so there should be enough procs to get this kill. Invoker able to slide in that right click to be able to get that kill, and now 4-0. This is
absolutely perfect. This is and he's doing the old build with maxing Soul Catcher, and this is exactly like where he wants to be. This is a support snowballing right now, and Shadow Demon's one of the few supports that you can really snowball on really hard.
Especially,
and he's doing it.
Well, when I studied a lot of Shadow Demon, one thing, and I've talked about this before on a cast with you, one thing that professional teams will do with Shadow Demon specifically is you set up your lane so that no matter where Shadow Demon goes, he can get kills. Middle lane, you have Invoker with Cold Snap, and sorry, as we see top lane Disruptor getting surged, he is going to be able to get out here. It doesn't look like they're going to be able to net this kill. Does have multiple points in Gush. Maybe Little Mag might be in trouble, but bottom lane, Kiwi was able to clean up Moons and Wraith King Falls. But yeah, like I said, one thing that pro teams do is they set up every single lane so Shadow Demon can get kills, and you have it in top, you have it in middle, and you have it in bottom. And that's what's making Jesus' life easy. But he is still doing a great job, you know, don't get me wrong there, but I like the way this draft is working, and Jesus is definitely hitting his opportunities well. But it needs to continue. It can't stop. As Mita in trouble top lane. 1-2-3 is going to TP in. Cold Snap there.
Ravage is up, Ravage.
2 click. And there's the Ravage. It's actually going to hit on both. And the Anchor Smash going to be able to clean up that kill. There's the Sunstrike. And actually, on the end, he's able to clean up that kill. 1-2-3, impressing the viewers as he's able to rock the world with that Sunstrike. 2 double kill. And you know what, Invoker? Talking about Snowball, Niz. Invoker is one hell of a snowball hero to be worrying about.
Yes.
No disruption. Now arrow. It's going to fling through. It's actually going to hit the DPing in Disruptor, but there's the Abaddon. He's still able to get the shield, and this is the problem with Abaddon. You need to be able to stun him and kill him before he's level 6, or you need to be able to remove him from the fight with like a Doom or something else that they don't, they do have ways to do it, but you need to remove him from the fight to prevent shields from going out.
Yes. However, I mentioned a little bit earlier about them kind of wasting time doing this. That wasn't wasted time. They need to poke and test whether or not Abaddon's actually there. And that's what they just did there. If Abaddon wasn't there,
even if there is the shield, he's going to take a Sunstrike, and that's a kill. And now Fail Whale taking another stun. Kiwi is going to TP in the lane, does have the DD. Azmita doesn't have access to that Ravage, and honestly, this is a big problem there. They're going to pop the Reality. Or Haunt, going to deal quite a bit of damage as that Desolate dealing a ton. We see the stun still connect on Jenner. There is the follow-up Wraithfire Blast to try to stall that out, but Abaddon's shield popping cleans up that kill, and now Kiwi's able to pursue. He has bottle charges, one left, and Wand will continue the pursuit into the trees. Fog stops the Reality Rift from pulling him back. Moon continuing to juke, will juke into the trees, bites another, tries to get through, is running in circles now, and has a circle to work with. His team doesn't have anyone to TP yet. Here comes the first TP. He's going to be in here. 1, 2, 3, cleaning up another kill in the meantime. Moon, caught between two places, will be able to activate the ulti, and now Kiwi is running from the tower. We'll get another Aphotic Shield. Of course, we did see Disruptor fall during that time. Invoker takes the middle tower, and as we go back to this top action, it hasn't stopped yet. Jesus in the area with Jenner, and now Jenner on the chase for Kiwi. He's separated from his Abaddon. Arrow off the mark in a big way, and they're not going to be able to pursue this out. Sunstrike also off the mark as Kiwi is going to run into the trees. He's going to attempt the TP. They don't have a stun. They do have a disruption, but no. He disrupts himself, double tapping the Q. Unfortunately, he was trying to get that off, but I don't think he could have, even if they got the vision. Just too quick. Kiwi with the plays, but at the same time, plays in an area of the map that I don't feel like are that impactful. 1, 2, 3 got a kill and got a tower during that, and I mean, yeah. So you have a different thought on it, or?
Well, here's the whole thing. They came down and they poked and they said, we're going to test to see if Abaddon's here by going on the Spectre. That didn't work out. Okay, that's fine. That's what you were doing. You were trying to test that. You don't have to then force it. But then Tide rotated bottom. He didn't have Ravage for 50-ish seconds or something like that. He rotated bottom and then it was forced. And it's just like, what are you trying to do without the Ravage? Arrow's flying, but it's not going to miss.
Fail Whale.
Anything. But like, just that rotation, it's a low percentage chance that you're really going to make something. If you have Ravage, high percentage chance that you're actually going to get a kill and you're going to make something good out of it and get the tower on the back of it. But if nothing happens, you just lose a tower top to Darkseer for nothing. And that's what happened. And because of how everything went on, they were able just to rotate down now with, of course, Ravage, so it just secures them the tower.
Yep.
Full arrow actually catches.
Yeah, they will get Fail Whale, and I was going to say this is going to be a relatively even trade, but with getting the Spectre, I don't think that's an even trade at all.
They knew he didn't rotate out because of the ward, right?
It's been sitting there for about 3 minutes, and they're going to smoke up, and they're going to look for a kill here. The question is, did that get seen? And with the frantic drawing coming out of Spectre, it doesn't surprise me that they know. But now with this Mirana ult, they could definitely figure something out because somebody could get in closer range, but it looks like the intelligent decision was made from every player on the side of the Radiant to get completely out of the rotation potential. The smoke, of course, will be wasted as well as the Mirana ult, but in the end, I feel as though the Dire side got more out of this just because of that kill on the Spectre.
Absolutely, and just the fact that they use smoke there just kind of cements that. Smoke in that situation doesn't really help at all. Like, there's a high probability that the Radiant side has a ward at the bottom room. So the second they see that you haven't rotated through here, through the bottom rune, the second they see that you haven't rotated there, they already know the rotation's coming. So the smoke doesn't really disguise you from anything. Like, smoke's disguising and getting used slightly earlier.
3 heroes, or sorry, Little Mag is gonna. Shadow Demon disrupts himself, not sure why, but they are going to be able to get Little Mag anyways. They do have the stun as well as the purge. Sunstrike helping clean that up. Moons will be able to be the one to nab up that kill, and it looks like Ao is looking to take the final tower on, or the final T1 tower on the side of Gucci. Now this tower doesn't have a big impact on the game in a lot of ways. It's kind of just a free money tower. And they might be trading their middle T2 for this, but it looks like the push from Gucci is actually just going to turn into a defense. They're going to throw all their heroes here. And
Ravage is up, though.
yeah, Ravage is up, and that's exactly my thought. Is do you think this is a good decision given Ravage is up right now? They only have 3 here. And actually, no, they're just going to go ahead and go in. Screw your ideas, Niz. They're not going to give you a chance to figure it out. We'll talk about it afterwards. The Shadow Demon is blown up off the bat, but Ravage is going to hit on everyone. But Sunstrike, 3 heroes dispersed between not doing too much. Moons is now on the run with his teammate, and this is going to be a complete team wipe for Ao. And there was just too many heroes top too quick. Invoker wasn't there, not able to do anything. And, you know, the Ravage happened after Shadow Demon died. Shadow Demon didn't get too much off, and unfortunately, I'll kind of leave it to you to break it down, but it felt like they just didn't have the time to set up. They got gone on too quickly.
Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the Disruptor started it off basically perfectly. Yes, he maybe could have caught the Tide in the kinetic field as well, but just the fact that he threw down such a big static storm, and he caused chaos in the fight. He disrupted the fight, right? And the Dire side was just so frantic trying to get out of it, trying to not get caught in the kinetic field, and they just basically weren't all on the same page, and they just got run over because Gucci was ready, and that's the fight that they wanted, and they just basically ran over them. The only thing that went good for One World is the fact that Tide got glimpsed right back into the middle of everyone and got a big Ravage, but it didn't really do anything besides
Great
now
for the
putting the Ravage on
but
cooldown.
no one else.
Yeah. I mean,
So
if you're the Tide there's no way you're not pressing R.
Oh no, I
However-
completely agree with you.
However, looking at it now, it was obviously a waste.
No, and that's sometimes how it goes. But this prompts me to an important question for you, Niz. Do you feel as though Ao was pushing, not expecting a fight, or do you feel that they were expecting a fight and they kind of just got outplayed? Because if they were pushing, expecting a fight, and they just got outplayed, that's going to put a lot of fear in them. But it kind of looks like it might be the former, as they are grouping back up with their Invoker, and they were just not expecting that large a response. But Tide's not there now, and Ravage is off. This seems a little forced. Arrow. Yeah, it does hit Little Mag, and they don't have Abaddon anywhere nearby. Sunstrike going to deal a ton of damage. Of course, there's the follow-up stun from Wraith King. There's the mech. He doesn't have the ability to surge himself with that cold snap, and he's going to fall. Failwell immediately goes into the tree, and there's the Mirana ult. They're going to get the disruption onto the Abaddon, but Abaddon does have borrowed time, so he's going to be able to stay alive for quite a while. Moon throwing out the stun onto Kiwi. Going to blink away immediately after that. 1, 2, 3, as well as his gang, is going to be able to take down this T1 tower. Maybe not, as the Fortify is used at the last second. Necrobook getting cleaned up. Tower at 99, 82. Not taking too much more damage. 80, 64. Not sure who's hitting it, but the Blink Ravage is huge. Hitting on 3. Kiwi going to get blown up at the beginning of the fight, and if they needed a fight to go away for them, this was the one. And on top of that, this is how the previous fight really needed to go. They jumped on one target, obliterated them. Yeah, they used Ravage and it hit 2 extra targets, but now there's nothing that the Radiant side can do, and this is a free collateral tower out of it.
Well, that was a surprise Ravage because, one, I don't think anyone realized, including myself, that Tide had picked up his blink there. And 2, the fact that must have been as soon as Ravage. I wasn't watching the cooldown, but that must have been as soon as
well,
Ravage.
They're actually going to try to fight it anyways. They're going to go forward. There's the disruption, or sorry, the Static Storm doing a great job spreading out the fight, disrupting it as Niz was talking about. Now we see the disruption onto Spectres. They're going to try to hold back and get the retreat out here. They don't have Glimpse for another 10 seconds. It's a short cooldown, but they're going to need a TP out here. There is no vision from them to my knowledge. There actually is Sentry Ward, and of course with that playpen, there's no way Invoker's getting out. He gets cleaned up. Monster kill streak going to the side of Chaos Knight, and that's going to help turn these gold graphs in the opposite direction. We'll be able to see the feedback of that in just a second, but that was important because they were about to lose a second tower on the back of that great Ravage from Tidehunter, but off of great play from them, they're able to stabilize, win the fight, and now push it back onto the other side.
And it just comes down to Hawaii. Like, Hawaii's just making big plays on this Disruptor. Once again, he got another really good kinetic field and static storm off, and what he did is he separated One World. He separated their team, which meant, well, you're not fighting 5 versus 5 anymore. You're fighting 5 versus 2 or 3 or whoever got, separated from the rest of the bunch. And that, of course, you're going to win when you're when you're fighting with those numbers. And now they are actually able to get the tier 2 on the back
Good
of it.
blink by Tide. He is going to get
The
Glimpse back
Glimpse.
though, and he's in trouble. And this is what we were talking about in the draft about Glimpse. He blinked away, but to what avail? And he gets pulled back, stunned up, right click down. There's the Static Storm. Unfortunately, this is going to be the worst one of the game, as it really just doesn't do anything. But not every player is perfect, nor could any player be perfect. And they're still getting what they need to get done. And, you know, at first I thought that was a very clutch blink by the Tidehunter, but then my brain clicked together after the glimpse happened. So there's
He
another.
blinked right as the glimpse went out, I think.
Well, no, he blinked before. But that brings me to this
Well,
point.
before
is,
the glimpse was thrown by
Yes.
Disruptor, I mean.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah. But this brings me to the point. Spectre's dagger gives vision. I didn't really think about this intuitively because I haven't drafted this specific combo myself. But Spectral Dagger sets up. Yes, you have the Static Storm, or sorry, the Thunderstrike to set up. It's 4-second duration with a 4-second glimpse back in time. So they line up very nicely. But why not have Spectral Dagger that gives, I believe, an 7-second duration of vision and gives AoE flying vision as well. So I really like that synergy in their draft kind of showing right there. But this fight under Roche, we'll see. Reality used early as that is going to push them out of the pit. Invoker's actually in the front. This is a big problem. He's actually going to force staff himself into the enemy team. He gets cleansed back and saved as the Ravage hits on 4 and immediately Disruptor's cleaned off the back of that. Now Fail Whale caught out between. It's actually Asmita's the one who's caught between 3 Radiant heroes, but his team is there to back him up. Disruption there to help him out defensively, and now the Reincarnation, I don't know why I called it Resurrection, is coming from Wraith King, as that is a level 1, will be a 3.5, 4 minute cooldown, as Roshan will be cleaned up off the back of that, and ow. They were a cornered beast, pushed out of that corner, and the Radiant side thought they had them, but to be fair, Ravage is all that really needs to be said.
Yeah, Ravage is a good spell. Obviously it sucks that Hawaii wasn't able to get the Static Storm off, and that really, really hurt them. And I feel like maybe the wall came out a little bit late, because the wall positioning overall was good.
Question though, so his wall was, well, I mean, I'm not sure about the exact angle, but it was somewhere in this spot, radiating out from there. And the fight really, the Ravage happened right here. Was Darkseer like over here or something when the fight started, and his team was over here? Because it seemed like they were...
I actually don't know. I know there was like convergence from everywhere, from mid and from bottom lane, like up through the jungle. But maybe Darkseer was off to the right. I actually didn't notice.
He must have had a blink dagger and been standing here based on the
He does
wall.
have a blink. So.
Yeah, so that kind of lines up. But I think you're right that the positioning of the blink and everything was great. But unfortunately, the team couldn't capitalize on it, so it doesn't make it as good. But I don't know how you want to look at that in that sense. But unfortunately, they didn't collect quick enough and get in the good enough position to take advantage of that Roche attempt. And well, the push goes to this bottom tower, and they will get it for free. We'll refresh. Actually, never mind this. They're not going to get it for free. And do you think defending this is a good idea? I really don't think they should be pushing out this far for a dead tower.
They don't have Ravage. They're just trying to catch stragglers there, I think. But no, they were just there a little bit too late.
Arrow does scout out Abaddon. 16 seconds until that Ravage. The only one who's not there with him is, of course, Tidehunter, which is kind of a big deal. He's going to be TPing bottom right now, though, and they're going to push into this bottom lane. They're going to be the ones taking advantage of the Aegis, but never mind Hawaii. On the other side, I don't really understand.
That was... Huh.
I mean, so as a Disruptor player, I definitely think that there is single pick potential with your ultimate. It does a ridiculous amount of damage and usually underestimated, but I feel like that was a hopeful play, and I feel like that might be a sign of there are issues going on the Radiant side as far as how connected the team is on what they want to do. We'll see if they can collect themselves, because this smoke game
like full health.
Yeah, no, and an interesting decision on the target. There's lots of things to talk about, but we'll see if the Radiant side can kind of group up and deal with this, because this smoke game could really hurt. When you're down and behind, and you're also on different pages as a team, the last thing that you really want to happen to you is a big engagement that swings the game massively in the favor of the other team when you're not ready for it. And that's exactly what Ao is trying to do right now.
Radiant's middle tower.
Of course, Kiwi is in the top lane, does have access to that TP, but they're doing a good job not showing too many of their forces. This ward does show some of it, but not all of it.
Oh my god, Little Mag.
Little Mag, and he's been an arrow magnet all game. They do throw the Thunder Strike onto the Shadow Demon, but this of course reveals that they have a ward on the high ground, or at least a ward in the area. Of course, there is good positioning by the rest of the side from the Dire. They really don't know the Radiant, that is, the positioning of Ow, as far as where all of their heroes are. They know they're there, they know they want to fight, but they don't know exactly how they're staggered apart, and that's a big deal. And look at Asmita. This is definitely something to note in your little notebooks, is to get better at playing Dota, as he is back in the very far edges of this, and as soon as that fight breaks out, you bet he's going to wait till the right moment to reinitiate with that Ravage, like we've been seeing. Kiwi in the top lane, able to take a tower, or no, there was no tower in this lane at all. He's just been pushing. So he will go for a T3 here, but do you think this is going to turn into a standoff, or do you come back and defend? Do you let CK split push? I mean, they're losing a lot of health on their T3 already.
I mean, you've got to defend it in some way, but I don't think One World's
Kiwi
really
goes
going to
back.
commit to it.
Spectre does
They
have his
might.
ultimate. Fortification is there. Tower's down to 512 HP. Moon does get stunned up. There's the ultimate. Moon gets pulled out of it, vacuum back into it, as they are going to be able to clean up the first hero, but the Ravage is there, and it's on mark, hitting all 4 of the Radiant heroes in the area. And now Moon is in trouble, but will revive, and so will Invoker. So here becomes the true testament of the fight. Will they be able to clean up the second set of lives? The Anchor Smash does quite a bit of damage. There's the Deafening Blast clearing out a lot, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to go high ground, and they're actually going to get picked off. And this is a bad sign for Ow, because they don't have a team to continue on in this game as far as late game scalability. I don't know if you agree or disagree with that, Niz, but that fight was definitely resoundingly in favor of the Radiant.
That is a very tough fight to win when you're the Dire side there. That's just, it's hard pushing uphill like that. And unfortunately they lost, and they lost it hard. So, you know, the net worth swing is going to actually be very large from that.
Do you think they needed a pick before they went high ground?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think you have 2 resources in these tier 2 towers that are still up. You can try to potentially force a fight on the back of those. If not, gain a little bit of gold. The downside to doing that is you're wasting time, and you're allowing Spectre to get more. Wasting's probably the wrong word, but you're allowing Spectre to have more time. And that could hurt you when it comes to trying to actually push uphill. Especially if the Radiant side is
right, but
willing to
if you're going to
sacrifice
push
those
uphill
towers.
and wipe, then,
Yeah.
you know, it becomes a different argument. But stun onto Asmita. 2 points in Kraken Shell, so will pop a little late, but it does pop, gets the Anchor Smash off, dealing some damage. But Tidehunter will fall amongst many of the Radiant heroes around him, and now with that hero down specifically, Ravage, about timed up with his respawn, they're going to be able to siege this bottom T2 tower. And of course it's worth noting that this removes all of the Roche control for the Radiant, or Dire, sorry, making the Radiant resoundingly in favor for when it comes to Roche control, as they have this critical T2 still up. But we'll see if they're able to actually take down this T2. Sieging and setting up and actually taking the tower are all different stories.
They're going to have to wait for the next wave, and the next wave, Tide's going to be able to get up. So they're probably just going to back here.
This
Yeah,
is
oh,
why,
arrow cut,
never
fell
mind.
off.
This arrow is going to change everything, and it's going to set up now. We have the stun, follow up by Wraith King. There's the Purge. Fail Whale's just going to get bursted in the back, and he was just in the wrong spot at the wrong time. The Mirana with the Sixth Sense able to clean that up, and now we have the stun, follow up by Moon as he's able to blink forward, or Moon's Kiwi on the run. Arrow off the mark. BKB TP. There is no BKB disabled. So there's no way to clean up that kill, so he will be able to get out, but that was his 9-second BKB charge. And what I was going to say, Niz, is, oh my god, if I can even remember what I was going to say. But yeah, this is why we saw the build that you were talking about, the max Shadow, Soulcatcher build, kind of fall out of favor in the traditional meta, because of the power of Shadow Poison as a split push, deep push, and also just a damage ability, as the way it scales now is absolutely insane, dealing up to 1080 damage with 6 stacks.
I don't think you need it this game, though.
No, but it helped a lot right there, is what I was trying to say.
Wouldn't more points in disruption be more valuable for disrupting
the CK?
the Spectre or the CK?
Potentially.
Like both are
I agree with you, but part of me wants to just say the Shadow Poison you go for first, regardless, because of its D-push potential. No one else has ranged D-push like you do, and you can safely D-push every single wave. The other thing, too, is the damage. I think it outweighs the disruption damage for right now. In 20 minutes, though, you're 100% right because of the items that the carries get. But by then, you're already level 16, ideally. So, yeah. I mean,
it's not just the damage that you're getting on the back of it. I mean, I guess it is. That's the point of leveling it up. The disable still remains the same at all levels, but you're getting the cooldown down quite a bit, and some of these fights will last, you know, the 15, 16 seconds that disruption cooldown is. So you're going to be able to most likely cast it again in the fight. I don't feel like Shadow Poison's actually going to do you that much in a team fight. I mean, it is really good. I think the counter push potential doesn't really have any value this game because you want to be on the offensive. You want to be pushing and putting the pressure on. And I don't think you really need the ability to clear waves. If you're worried about defending your towers, then I think you drafted the wrong lineup.
No, that's fair, and they might be getting into a position where they have drafted the wrong lineup, and it's not because, sorry, let me rephrase that. It's not because they drafted the wrong lineup. Let me say what I say was wrong. It's that they failed to do or not been able to execute their lineup at the timing that they needed to execute it at, and now it's becoming incredibly difficult for them to be able to get their lineup high ground and take racks by the time that Spectre and CK, or before Spectre and CK are massive. But given the state of the game, personally, I love the poison, and I would still go for it. You know, not to say you're wrong, but you know, my argument is mainly just that I'm very partial to the damage. I feel like, for the same reason that you cite about, you know, fights lasting a long time, if a Shadow Demon stays alive for that long of a fight and gets 5 stacks on everyone and hits D, you're looking at everyone half health immediately. And I think that could make a big difference. Or
I think the fights are over. Well, I can't say the fights are over quickly, but they kind of are in that sense, and I don't think you as a Shadow Demon are going to be able to stand there and throw Shadow Poisons.
Well, you definitely can on the skirts, but that may not matter at all. It's Fail Will. Does get cleaned up, and this might be the pick. They need to go high ground, even uses reality, but definitely one thing to take from that conversation, guys, is that there are 2 ways to play it, and situationally, Niz's build in like this situation is probably better, like 9 times out of 10. And there are definitely ways to use Shadow Poison to your advantage, but that's the nice thing about Dota, right?
It really depends on the player too.
Yeah.
Like, well, I mean, that's the difference between you and I. I play Shadow Demons. Well, I play him different ways, but in this situation, I would be playing him a specific way, and you would be playing him a different way. And it's because of the way that we are as players and what we're looking to do in the team fight and how we're looking to contribute.
No, definitely well put, Niz. And
this is a Roche.
This is a Roche, and with that top T2 down, this game is in a very interesting spot. Now, I would give the favor to the Radiant. I'd give the advantage to the Radiant. Would you agree or disagree with that, Niz?
Right now, yes. I mean, this Dire's not out of it, but
no. Yeah, but you give the advantage to the Radiant.
Yes.
Okay.
Because
now
I think it's very fragile. It's a very fragile game for Dire, and it has been ever since the start. But they made some good movements and some good plays that really helped them. Unfortunately, there were some big plays that came out of the Radiant side, mainly on this Disruptor that won his team at least 2 fights.
So here becomes my question is, do you think 1 pick is enough for them to go high ground? Or do you think they need to win a team fight to get racks?
If they kill Disruptor, it's racks.
So
I definitely think if they can pick off Disruptor...
Every other kill is not... I'm not trying to say it wrong. I'm just trying to say not every other hero is not as consequential then to the base defense in this game, you think?
Well, I think right now, CK and Spectre should be holding buyback. CK is not.
Neither is
So
Spectre.
obviously if they get a kill on CK, that would be huge.
Yeah, Spectre just bought.
Oh, Spectre just bought as well. I think they definitely should be holding buyback because I think there's a timing here. and Dire needs to win, or is looking to win very soon.
Mhm.
So, buyback almost secures your team that fight. Yes, it's going to cost you, but it makes sure that you don't lose in that fight, unless you lose really, really hard. But that shouldn't happen with how the game is right now.
So, another interesting question for you, Niz, is I'm just going to spend this entire cast picking your brain, as I love to do.
Fine.
The Invoker gets BKB, not the interesting part. But, so, because of that pickup, obviously, they decide to put Tidehunter with the Aegis. Do you agree, disagree? How do you feel about that? It strikes interesting in my mind.
I don't know. I don't know how to respond.
I mean, you agree at least with me that it has to be because of the BKB on Invoker. They feel like
guess.
Invoker with the BKB Force Staff is safe enough in fights?
Invoker's the only one. Like, you're not going to put it on Wraith King, because Wraith King's... By the time Wraith King goes through all of his lives, all his respawns, everyone else on his team's dead.
Mm-hmm.
So there's no point in him lasting a little bit longer.
Yeah, he's not a 6-slotted hypercarry yet.
Honestly, I think just get rid of the TP on the Invoker and put the Aegis on him. I think he's going to do more with a life than Tidehunter is.
Okay, so I kind of had the same inkling. I wasn't entirely sure if you'd agree or disagree, but maybe they have a strategy, right? Like, it's there could be a playbook that they have as a team that they know that if we put Tide with Aegis and Ravage, we can play him like this, force them to engage him like this, try to kill him, and then save the Ravage for the second life, and they are just going to go ahead and glimpse away. Of course, glimpse now is only a 20-second cooldown. Arrow flies through as well. But yeah, maybe they have a strategy with this, and teams do develop things over time like this. Like, oh, you know, we can put the Aegis on this hero in this particular situation when we're going high ground. Tide can just blink up, go ham, force out abilities, and then when he respawns, after they've committed past it, he can set up the Ravage or whatever, but we'll see how it works out for them.
Maybe. I think what they need to do if they're going to fight 5v5, two things need to happen. One, they need to blink Ravage and focus the Disruptor, and Disruptor needs to die. And the other thing is I think Shadow Demon needs to make sure that Abaddon can't get hit anything off. He needs to make sure that he jumps in and he disrupts the Abaddon. Because although it's good to have the damage and stuff on Spectre, from Spectre or from the CK illusions, I think right now Abaddon's going to be what's really going to help his team win a team fight, given that Disruptor's already getting focused.
Right. And if they and if you're on a close enough page as a team, is if this was professional Dodo, what we'd be expecting is we see a smoke up from the Radiant side of Gucci. You want to disrupt as a Shadow Demon right at the critical focus points where you want to really get somebody down, leap away after that Reality Rift, and
Jenner's going to
that
get
excitement.
Glimpsed.
As yeah, the glimpse does happen, and there is a Sentry Ward there. He's probably going to go down, doesn't get out of the vision range, and will be pulled back by Reality Rift by that. Now, however, Mirana is a support in this situation, relatively short respawn time considering the duration of the game. She does have the mechanism, is the caveat, but they can still defend high ground with the 4 heroes they have.
The other thing I actually wanted to point out is it would be more beneficial for Shadow Demon to lock out the Darkseer, but I don't see that happening.
Not with a Blink Dagger.
I mean, if he could get the Darkseer, yes, that's a more valuable target than the Abaddon. However, I don't see him actually being able to catch the Darkseer, because Darkseer's positioning should be pretty good with the Blink and the fact that he's got Mech Pipe, everything. Like, that's... If you can lock out the Darkseer, that would be huge, but...
Yep.
Instead, I don't think it's going to happen.
Radiant felt like they could have gone high ground, changed their mind as they did pre-Shroud.
They don't have to.
Yeah, no, that was my thought, but they do finally come to that conclusion as well and do back out. But they have an interesting way of going high ground too, and yeah, this is actually a really good decision. I think they will send Tidehunter out first to blink, and I think that's a good decision. Clean up the creep wave, and now they have the option to smoke, as Tidehunter is just going to buy his Shivas.
Sentry before you smoke.
There's no ward in the area.
I know, but you should. I would have warded there.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, what am I saying? I'm a commentator. Of course I would never sentry ward where I know there's not wards. But as a player, you always got a sentry ward just in case.
As Radiant, I would have Observer ward there, and as Dire, I would have sentry warded.
Well, Aegis is out. Chase is on. Fail Whale. And gets gone on by that Gush. Throws out that dagger, but meanwhile on the other side, actually Moon's going to get bursted down by Kiwi as his BKB is getting down to a lower duration. Tidehunter low HP. I don't even know where he is right now, but it doesn't look like he's going to get anywhere near getting Ravage off as Moons gets cleaned up without his Aegis up, and there's the reality into the haunt from Fail Whale on to Jesus as he's getting chased down. He does Force Staff himself in the low ground. Great play, but of course Spectre can chase anywhere and everywhere. And meanwhile, 1-2-3 is going to get picked off on the high ground. Spectre still on the pursuit of Jesus, but Jesus has that invis from Moonlight Shadow, but it's not going to last long enough for him to live. He's going to run. He's going to try to juke. One hit. There's the dagger, and of course the click. Going to be enough to clean him up. Tidehunter somehow, someway, not sure where he went, how he went, but he got out alive. Ravage was used, but that was not a fight that the Dire wanted to see, and honestly with that news, I think we're going to be seeing game called relatively soon as the Radiant looks to just kind of step on after that fight.
Well, it's not over, but it was an uphill fight, basically, and that just made it even worse.
No, most definitely. And now Gucci wants to take their advantage to finish off this game. Glimpse back from onto the Tide, but he's just going to blink out of it. They do throw down the playpen around the tower, getting some damage onto this T3, dropping it down to 820 HP.
Static Storm's coming up.
It's off cooldown now. Arrow does get Aphotic shielded off, and to add to my previous point, I don't want it to sound like Gucci is like dominating Ao. I just feel like Ao, like we said earlier, they had a draft, they had a lineup, they had a timing. Their timing is gone and past, and they just really don't have much in their draft to offer at this point in the game. And now Jesus in a really bad spot. This is where Disruptor will really punish you, but Reality Rift punishes even harder as he gets pulled out of the base, and now they're going to go on to Kiwi as there isn't an Aphotic shield. There is one now. That'll remove that BKB used as they're continuing to chase forward. The Shiva's doing stuff, but it's not doing enough as they are going to be able to focus down Mirana off the back of that. Fail Whale continuing to chase. Deafening Blast does miss him. Playpen kind of off the mark, but not really going to matter. Just going to zone them out from defending the tower. As Fail Whale doesn't even care. He's just going to continue to dive in. Moon's getting low. He's going to die here. Fail Whale, of course, on that triple or killing spree. Glimpse back onto Invoker. Again, with that synergy with the dagger, and that's a team wipe for the Radiant side, or in favor of them, as Gucci is able to clean it up. But yeah, like I said, it wasn't that Gucci's been dominating all game. It's just that Ao failed to win the game when they needed to, and this is where Gucci's lineup wins the game. And they're doing it.
Yeah, unfortunately, you know, when World actually went and pushed out of their base and ended up with that team fight kind of over here, the Tidehunter got separated from the team, and he ended up mainly getting zoned by the Disruptor with the Static Storm on the Tide, really preventing him from getting his Ravage off. But then by the time he got the Ravage off, you know, he only got the Disruptor and the Spectre. Somehow he lived. I actually stopped watching him after the Ravage went out to see the other side of the fight. But that was
try to kill Abaddon. I don't think they can.
Chance.
And Abaddon is going to get away, of course, with Borrowed Time and Aphotic Shield, and now the chase goes on to the Dire side as Fail Whale is one hell of a man with that heart. Not going to be able to kill him very easily. Reality Rift, not sure what that was on. I think it was a blinking Tidehunter.
It was on the blinking Wraithing.
Wraithing, okay. Well, played tricks on my eyes, but Jesus force-staffs himself to the high ground. Wouldn't be surprised if the pursuit continues. The blink forward from Disruptor, of course, going that blink dagger. Could have talked on that, but we'll leave that for another day as the Ravage hits on 4. Big deal. Is it going to be enough, though? As his team is there to back him up, BKB, pop by Kiwi, is really just kind of putting a foot in the way of the Dire side, and they're not going to be able to win this fight. They're going to get run over. Fail Whale is an unstoppable beast, as Spectre becomes in the later portions of this game. Moons is dead. Fail Whale's deep in the base, but does the Dire side, are they able to clean up Fail Whale before Fail Whale gets out? The answer is yes, actually. And they don't lose a Rax, they only lose the T3. The force staff forward from at 1-2-3 as he's going to be able to get the tornado onto Little Mag. There's the stun from Wraith King. He's going to go ahead and pop up that armlet. Great Shiva's guard from Darkseer using his wall to his advantage. He's going to force staff the Invoker in. Illusion's doing some damage, but he's going to actually blink and dodge Moons as Moons did blink forward, and Moons might actually go down here to the creep wave, and he does. Very poor play there with the Omnin, unfortunately. Not too much choice there, as he was probably going to die no matter what, unless he armlet toggled perfectly.
Jesus there.
But yeah,
they're having fun.
This is an interesting game, but yeah, I really just feel like, and I'm not trying to be like, oh, this game's over, you know, boo, it's boring. No, what I'm trying to say is that the Radiant side is going to win this game, but it's just because their lineup and the way that the game has gone down. And Spectre and CK, man. Mainly CK. Like, Spectre's been important in this game, don't get me wrong. And I think Spectre's probably the more integral pick in this draft. But Chaos Knight as a hero, I just think I want to see more of. The stun has just been so useful. Guaranteed kill every Chaos Bolt. And then Reality Rift is kind of like a reverse glimpse, right? You don't pull you don't put people back where they were. You pull them from where they were to where you want them to be.
See, that's interesting that you have that view of Chaos Knight in this game. I feel like the Chaos Knight essentially didn't do much at all. I feel like you could have replaced him with any other hero, and the outcome would have been the same. Obviously, the Disruptor is probably the biggest, most influential hero in this game, and then I'd say it's Darkseer. Those are the two heroes that are really winning this game. I mean, well...
Right, well, I mean, it's always
Spectre.
a team effort. It's always a team effort.
It's a team effort, but, like...
Spectre presses R and then haunts in. It's not like he has to time a great Blink Vacuum or a great Static Storm or a Playpen or anything like that.
But I feel like the two key fights early on were won pretty much solely because Disruptor is an amazing hero. Like, with his ability to AoE control and just absolutely change team fights. And he won 2 team fights for his team. And those team fights were so important because that's what One World needed to just basically keep going with. And those 2 team fights set them back. So, I mean, that comes all in the back on the Disruptor. And that's what really hurt One World. I think if those team fights had gone their way, then this would be a very, very different game. And probably One World would have won. Because I think it would have been very, very difficult for Gucci to have actually held their tier 3s in Iraqs.
Yeah, no, I couldn't have said it better myself, Niz. And you know I'm a fanatic for Disruptors, so... We'll see, though. Can they clean up this game? Can they finish it up? Of course, the Radiant side hasn't won yet. They still have to close it out, and there's always a chance for something to happen. That's just the nature of any competitive activity. The fallout of humans, as we see in the game. The fight has started. The disruption off onto Fail Whale. It's not doing too much. Meanwhile, on the southern portion of the fight, we see a Ravage hitting on 3 heroes, as well as a great Deafening Blast slowing up Little Mag and GKTA, but they're not going to be able to do much as Kiwi in the top part of the fight has just been running house. First death on the Shadow Demon, second on the Invoker, third on the Tidehunter, maybe the fourth on Moons, but he of course has the Aegis. Will it be actually an ultra kill? The right clicks are there, and I think it is. I don't think he's going to actually get the Rampage. Marana is far north, but the GG has been called, like Niz said, and GG, well played. Excellent execution from the Radiant side towards the later portion of this game. A little choppier towards the beginning, but all throughout, for me, definitely the MVP, going out to Hawaii on the Disruptor. But Niz, any final thoughts you have for the viewers?
No, I think I pretty much went over everything. The only thing that we didn't point out that we maybe should have is that the Jenner on the Marana did pick up the mech. I noticed that pretty early in the game, but we didn't get a chance to mention it, which is kind of unusual, but it's something that his team needed to keep going. So he had the gold. He was able to pick it up. That's good for him. Besides that, One World, they chose a very strong lineup, but as you said, it's kind of fragile, and those 2 team fights were really the big turning points, I'd say, in the game, and that's the main reason why it didn't work out for them, and that's why sometimes you don't really see these kind of lineups too much, because almost everything just has to go your way for them to really pan out in the end. It's very difficult to push uphill and break those tier 3s. But Gucci will move on.
Yep, they will. On to round 3. We'll see who they're playing next, guys. Of course, we'll be probably following them into the 3rd round. But before that, if you enjoyed watching this game, this cast by me and Niz, of course you can follow down below on Twitch TV/DotaRaptors. Little button helps us out a lot. It's really easy for you guys. If you want to watch the cast on your own time, you can subscribe to youtube.com/DotaRaptors, where all of the VODs are archived from every single one of our previous casts that we've been together. And of course, if you like Niz and you want to be a part of Niz's life and follow him on Twitter, you should, and that will be @NizCast. But guys, that does it for us for round 2, and we'll see you on round 3 in just a moment.